Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host from In Heights Sites, Nathan Heights. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel Che. Here we go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Unofficial Steelers podcast. I'm Daniel. Alongside with me, as always, Nathan Hines. How's it going, Nathan? How you doing, my man? It's been a couple of weeks since we've talked.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. Didn't get a show in last week. Probably for the better. This week we're doing pretty good. It's freezing cold out here. But can't complain. Just working, feeling good after the win Sunday, which we'll talk about. But good to be back on the show for another episode. And then we'll, after this week with the Browns game, hopefully it's a different outcome. Then hopefully maybe we can, since we're in the final stretch of the season, make sure that we do one weekly if we're able to finish out the year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I look forward.
Which I know, like we usually do it weekly, but I know there's times we might miss a week or so.
Yeah.
So,
No,
we're doing good, man. So hopefully we can do that this final stretch.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm my schedule's fixing to change again, but it's actually going to be changing for the better. I'll actually have a little bit more free time in the afternoons and evenings, so I'll be able to knock these out a little bit more consistent for the rest of the season. So the Steelers had a big game this week. It's now 18 consecutive years that Mike Tomlin has not had a losing season. It's now in the books.
Yeah.
Did you expect that to happen this early in the season with so many games left on the table? Before the season started, if I would have told you that they would have had 9 wins by the time week, 12? 13 have come around, would you believe me?
I don't know if I would have believed you. I would have believed you that they would have not had a losing season again. Not sure if at this point would have had 9. I think when a lot of us were looking at the schedule, there I think was probably maybe more than maybe another couple that we could have picked out as ones that they could probably fall to. I think a lot of people maybe thought that Commanders game, or even, some people were even thinking the season opener on the road with Atlanta. But yeah, they have had a very surprising. And what I say by surprising, just in terms of what their line was at and people's expectations, I think a lot of people in the media were probably thinking it was going to be, because people didn't really believe in the quarterback situation, or they would say that it was better than last year. But I think that a lot of people outside of Steeler fans are surprised that it's as good as it's been. And I think that there's a lot of Steeler fans that even are saying that it's even better than they thought. Not that they thought it was going to be bad, but that it's better than I think a lot of people thought, including Steeler fans. So yeah, I would say that being 9-3, I think that would have been something if we were told at the beginning of the season. Like, I think anybody would take that in a heartbeat. So it's pretty great. And honestly, it's actually exciting because I guess 2020 when they were 11-0, but since then it's just kind of really been, at this point in the season, the last 3-4 years, they've just kind of been around 500.
Right. And I agree with you there. This feeling to me, the feeling I have about this team and the direction that they're going, I actually think that they're playing a lot better, even though they're not 11-0, but playing a lot better than that 11-0 team. The competition this year has been higher than I think the competition was when the Steelers went 11-0. And, for me, I would have been surprised. I knew that Pittsburgh Steelers were going to have a winning record. I predicted somewhere around 10 to 11 wins, maybe 12 at best. And I think right now, the way it sits, the Steelers can end up making a pretty good run here. But for the media, for the fans, there's been a lot of seesawing going back and forth this year. First started with Justin Fields. People were like, yeah, let's keep him. And then he had 2 games that were kind of bad. Then he comes back against the Raiders. And then you can't really bench him. Then Russ comes in, plays well. So everybody jumped on that bandwagon. And then it took like a couple of games and people were trying to jump off. Which, I mean, he's going into his 7th game of the season. So he's starting to what you would expect to see and I get an idea of what you're going to see out of the player. And, there was going to be some growing pains. There was going to be some getting to know each other, especially given all the time that they missed during training camp and early part of the season. What we saw against the Cincinnati Bengals, him putting up over 400 yards through the air. The one interception that he had really wasn't his fault, putting up 3 touchdowns. The performance that he put out there, I mean, he outperformed Joe Burrow, who is, if he was had a team with a better defense, he'd probably be first place in there for the running for the MVP.
Yeah.
And the offense for the Cincinnati Bengals have been, all-star, especially with the connection between Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is remarkable. And it's also remarkable that they've lost so many games being able to do that. And
dude,
so
it is crazy. They have lost, it was when they scored 25 or more, I think it was 4. And then when they've lost where they've scored 30 or more, I think it was 3.
I think it was 3 going into the game.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, they've scored a lot of points this season, and everything else has been brutal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And if you're a Bengals fan, you're definitely frustrated about that. You look at the offense. They're one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL. They score almost pretty much 30 plus almost every week. So the fact that they only have 4 wins, and it's pretty wild. And this past game, they were playing for their season.
Yeah, and the Steelers ended it.
Yep. Yeah, they did. Yes, they did. We'll get into the game, but I'm not going to lie. Even though I know that there's frustration, and we'll talk about the defense this game, but I'm not going to lie, man. It was actually kind of nice to see a full offensive game, like not just from the Steelers, but one of those games where defenses just aren't the focal point. Like a game on the Steelers end where the defense isn't the focal point, number one, but number 2, where the Steelers are in a shootout. Let me put it that way. It was actually kind of a breath of fresh air to see something like that. That they were able to hang around with a team that's scoring over 30 points.
Well, I think they did a lot better than hang around. If for the offense, they put up I know it's 44 points was the score, but one of that was a defensive touchdown. So you take 7 points off of that, 30, what is that, like 37 points? And that's quite a bit of points on the board just from the offensive side of things. Defensively, yeah, they put up some points against the Steelers defense. I mean, but one of those was also a pick 6 that shouldn't have counted. And so, I mean, in reality, they could have been closer to 20 something instead of 34. And it's a little bit different in that scenario as far as how many points are put up there. The point that they put, the points that the Bengals were able to put up, and the takeaway that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense were also able to do. Cam Hayward had himself a game. I haven't seen Cam Hayward play like that. I mean, he's had several games this year, but that was vintage Cam. Like that's what we saw 10 years ago. And so really pleased with his performance. Herbig, he came up huge in this game. Again, Alex Highsmith is supposed to be coming back this week. I'm excited to see what they're going to, how they're going to implement Alex Highsmith and Herbig into the defense. Maybe perhaps getting all 3 of the outside linebackers on the field at the same time to try to confuse and show different looks to Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns, who are familiar with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that was one of the things that was brought up. I don't know. Did you catch the Hard Knocks show that just aired?
I was gonna watch it tonight.
All right, yeah. So I won't do any spoilers or anything like that. But they talk about how, or Tomlin talks about how, in the AFC North, and this is no surprise or no secret, these are teams that are intimate with each other. They know each other. They know what they like, what they dislike, what they're good, their weaknesses and strengths and stuff like that. And so you expect those teams to know each other. And throwing in a wrinkle like 3 outside linebackers out there at the same time could be something that breaks the tendency and also could cause some havoc there defensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you know what I do want to say is, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger, especially kind of in the early area of the Killer Bees,
Mhm.
They didn't always have the best defense,
They
and
didn't.
yet they didn't
No.
have a losing season either. So
Mhm.
they were able to pull it out. And I think that as a lot of credit goes to Mike Tomlin in those situations, especially with what we've seen out of his out of the seasons that he's had. I mean, there's some times where we've been a little bit upset because they went 8-8 or 9-8 or 9-7. And you're thinking to yourself, you're in purgatory. You're too high to get a high quality draft pick. You haven't lost enough games to get there, and you're not good enough to get even higher. So we had those seasons where we were there. And knowing what he's been able to do with those type of like offenses with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph in the last few years, and I think this is more of a testament to his coaching. He gets himself a solid quarterback. We see what we can do with Russ.
Mhm.
I'm excited. Would you? What? How do you feel about Russ coming back? Where do you think that contract lies if he does?
Well, I do think that there's going to be some teams that are going to be interested in him. 100%.
Mhm.
Steelers aren't going to be the only team that's going to be interested. But the thing lies on, does he want to leave here? And I think that's hard to see. I think the success he's having, the chemistry that he has with the players and him and Mike Tomlin together, it's hard to see Russell Wilson going somewhere else. I would think a contract would probably look like maybe a 2-year contract. I don't know how much per year. Just I know the quarterback market's insane, but I would say probably a 2-year deal. Maybe he would get like 30 a year, 35,
Mhm.
somewhere around there.
Yeah,
Just
35 would be
given,
generous.
yeah. Well, again, like it's how
I mean,
quarterbacks are being paid, man. Like it's like these guys, like Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, these guys, like they're younger, but like Trevor Lawrence is like the second highest paid player of all time.
yeah,
And Russell Wilson, I know that he only signed $1 million with the Steelers, but he's getting a lot of money from Denver. He's gonna command something, and I don't think he's gonna command breaking the bank. I could see it just being a way where he maybe takes a little bit of a more team friendly deal, but I think with where quarterbacks are at, with the way Russell Wilson's played, yeah, I think that there's gonna be teams out there that are gonna offer more money than what the Steelers are gonna give him.
right. I think that's a possibility as well. I think that in order for the Pittsburgh Steelers to keep Russell Wilson, I think they're going to have to pay him the equal amount of what Denver's paying him. I think it's going to have to be around the $40 million a year range. That's what he's already getting accustomed to playing. When you look at what some of these other quarterbacks are getting in the league, who, like you mentioned, haven't done anything or aren't doing anything,
Yeah.
even like the Daniel Joneses, the Trevor Lawrence, who he had a pretty horrific injury this past weekend. He seems to be okay. He sent a message out to the Jacksonville fans out there, and that he was all right. But outside of that, I mean, his performance hasn't been great this year, injury aside. And, you look at some of the other quarterbacks, is it Derek Carr? Yeah. And I always get confused with Derek and David. Derek Carr, he's making a lot of money as well. And so for me, I just think that the Steelers are going to have to pay him quite a bit. That's probably why, in my opinion, you're probably looking in the draft for a lot of key quality players that you're going to be looking for, maybe a receiver, because I'm going to find it hard that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be able to pay Russell Wilson the money that he wants, George Pickens the money he wants, and then also go get out another wide receiver in free agency, unless there's no intentions on re-signing George Pickens, which I don't know if you heard. I think he unfollowed the Pittsburgh Steelers on Instagram. I think that's a thing now when players get upset.
Well, first of all, number one, not sure what there's to be upset about with him. Number two, I saw that was somebody posting that, but he hasn't been following them for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's honestly not really relevant. I think it's hard for me to see them not be interested in giving him a contract extension. Now they could just let him play it out, see how he develops and grows as a guy that they want to keep and be a focal point in this organization, and let him just play next year, and then they can give him a try to get him a deal in free agency in 25 or after 25. But there's definite desire there. But like, if Pickens would be upset about it, I don't know what's there to be upset about.
Yeah, everything that's happened to him has been
like you're playing well, you're getting the football, you're making big plays, you have a quarterback, you're just being a freaking baby. You're being an idiot. It's not even funny. It's not even funny to even watch. It's like, grow up, dude. It's freaking old.
No, I agree with you on that. Did you buy his story about the so-called gun pointing was a first down?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. I saw it. He went with the hands up, and then he went like that, like he shot it.
And the other thing is that George Pickens has a target on his back.
Mm-hmm.
These officials are going to look at everything that he does from a taunting, sportsmanship standpoint. When you have a reputation of a guy like that, they're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Even if he was telling the truth, they're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. They saw what he did. That's what it looked like to them. He has that reputation of doing things like that. He's not going to get benefit of the doubt. So, and Mike Tomlin said too, he's got to freaking grow up, and he's got to grow up fast.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He definitely does,
old, dude. Like it is. Like he's very fun to watch. But dude, that whole little first down thing that he supposedly did, that cost him a touchdown.
Cost a lot of points. That was the drive, I think, that Boz's field goal got blocked.
Yeah. So not only did it cost a field goal, it cost a touchdown because they would have been inside the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah.
So it's crap like that, man, that's going to lose you games. And honestly, you don't win with players like that, as great as they are. But the Steelers, outside of George Pickens, going into next season, you're going to have to do something because you're not playing Mike Williams. Calvin Austin has come on. But again, you have to – it's got to be more than just that.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're going to have a decision to make. Is it worth letting George Pickens hit the market and have a good year next year and hit the market and just get a huge contract somewhere? Or do you want to try to extend him, especially at a point in time where he has 1 year left and maybe some teams are maybe a little shyer to give him a contract given his character, but or do the Steelers just value the character more? And they're not sure if they want him a part of the organization.
At the end of the year, if somebody offers a top 12 pick in the first round for George Pickens, would you take it?
Probably. Reason I would is because you take that, I'd go sign T. Higgins.
That's true, and then you get a younger receiver in the draft.
Draft another wide receiver. Yeah.
I'm not sure he's going to grab that, but I'm not sure he'll.
And George Pickens is great. He's a great player. I think he has the best. I think he's got some of the best hands, best body control in the NFL. He's very fun to watch, but to me, he's not somebody that's a non-tradable player.
Right.
He's not Jamar Chase. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Tyreek Hill. He's not Mike Evans. He's not A.J. Brown. Now, George Pickens, I think, can start making conversation given what he did last year and what he's producing this year on the NFL. That the guy is definitely there's no question the guy is top end talent. But I think you can start making the conversation. Is he a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL? I think that he is starting to transition into that. But if you are going to get a high draft pick, and given the headaches and given, again, the type of character issues that we've seen with wide receivers from here, how worth it is it keeping him when, if that would be a hypothetical scenario, you can go spend money because they're going to have a butt ton of money this offseason to spend because they have a lot of expiring contracts. If you want to go spend money on a T. Higgins or somebody and go draft somebody. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not going to happen. That's just a hypothetical thing that you brought up. Because I don't see them trading him at all.
Yeah. I find it hard to, I think that, especially given the history of some of the receivers that have gone through Pittsburgh and maybe been a little bit of a diva once they've left, and you see some of the personalities that were that Mike Tomlin was able to control, and how those personalities aren't controllable on the on the outside, so to speak. There could be something there. I think he's costing himself some money at the very least. His probably best bet, if he's going to want to get like a huge contract, is, well, one, stop his crap now, make a huge run in the playoffs, and then I think, if he just acts accordingly, then he's going to demand quite a bit of a salary.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I mean, I do think the world of the man as far as his abilities and talents on the field. His attitude is one that needs to be adjusted, in my opinion. He had an interview before the game, and he was pulling the Marshawn Lynch, where I'm just here so I don't get fined type of stuff.
Yeah.
Which, to a certain extent, I think that was probably the smartest idea, because sometimes media will turn things he says.
Half the time they deserve it. The media doesn't deserve a thing.
Yeah.
I hate the Pittsburgh media, dude. I don't like him at all. I really don't. I don't like Jerry Dulac. I don't like a lot of people on 93.7 The Fan. I don't like Mark. I'm not a big fan of Mark Caboli. Like they have their own biases and narratives, and I think it's really kind of annoying and a little bit of a headache to see those play out in terms of whatever content that they're trying to push. Jerry Dulac is wrong 90% of the time on everything that he says, and I've called him out on it, and that's why I'm blocked, because he's wrong. He is 90% of the time. He's not an insider. Ed Bouchette, another guy. Time to retire. Time to retire.
So
again, they don't put out good information, dude. They don't.
Well, here's the thing. Jerry Dulac does have some information from inside the building, and so does my counterparts at SteelCurtainNetwork.com. We do have a source, and I'll say this: the information that we have gotten, even through our source, one time was that the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested in Chase Young. I apologize. They were interested in Chase Young as the outside linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that they were going to be looking at some other players, and none of those things transpired. Now, I'm not saying that the source is wrong or whatever like that, but my thing is, they contacted us, just like I am assuming that Jerry Dulac, as the inside, that got contact through to him, and they wanted to send a message out to the people about certain things. If this is what's going on, if this is why there's leaks, right? We're just going to try to put our detective hat on and say, why would they be leaking out information? Well, this information is information that the team wants out. So if the team wants out information, it's probably not going to be accurate. Like, I'm just saying that right now, because what type of competitive advantage would they get by spilling the beans on what they're doing, what they want, who they want, and what they're willing to pay on anybody?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I truly think it's a competitive advantage type of thing, where the Steelers are saying, all right, we're going to give you this information to put out. Some of it's going to be real. Some of it's going to be true. It's not really going to be anything that's going to be of high importance. Like, for instance, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had broken out that Alex Highsmith was looking at the Cleveland Browns game as a return. And this was a couple of weeks ago. Well, I mean, outside of, making other teams prepare for him, the Steelers weren't putting him out. They were listing him as out very early on in the week. I mean, that's not something that's huge. Now, if they're willing to pay somebody, like, for instance, the Brandon Ayuk, conspiracy stuff that was going on. Oh, a second round, this amount of money, blah, 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 blah. Why would they show their hand like that to opposing teams that potentially could take advantage of those things if it wasn't for them bluffing? You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I take with a huge grain of salt of what any insider says.
Oh, you have to. 100% you have to.
Yeah. Unless it's something about health reasons, somebody's returning, things like that. If it's anything major, like major news, like, oh, hey, they're going to bench Russell Wilson this week and start Justin Fields because they like the matchup better, that ain't coming out.
No, of course not. Yeah.
And so
Steeler Lee, I think the lady you're talking about is Brooke Pryor.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's who you're referring to.
Yeah. And Brooke Pryor and Mike Tomlin have had it seems like a turmoil relationship as far as coach to reporter. It don't seem like he likes many of the questions that she throws out there.
No, and that's okay. Like, another one a lot of people don't like. She's more, she's not really like insider like some of these guys that actually are back here are. Didi Kinkabwala, a lot of people don't like.
Well, she's a Browns fan.
Yeah, but she's covered the Steelers and the Browns.
Right, but she favors the Browns, and so you can see
Yeah,
that in her
right.
reporting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't like her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I hear you. But going back to the game, I felt that the Steelers offense put up some points that they needed to show. That was a huge concern. And I thought that it was a complete 180 of what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done in the last few games. I saw passing on first and second down. I saw more passing than actual rushing, which was something that I had put in my my pregame show. If you guys haven't checked it out with Behind the Steel Curtain, wherever you find audio only, I mean, not Behind the Steel Curtain, we're no longer called that. It's Steel Curtain Network. Go check it out wherever you find audio only. You'll see my episode of State of the Steelers this past Friday, where I said if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to win this game, they need to reverse the rushing attempts to passing attempts to, like, I think it was like 60% rushing to 40% passing or something like that.
Yeah, 100%.
And I wanted those numbers to flip. I wanted 60% passing to 40% rushing. And I think we got something very similar to that. Especially on first down. And I think that played a huge role as far as why the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to put up so many points. They were breaking some tendencies, and it was forcing the defense to back up, which allowed the running backs to do their thing as well. What did you think about Arthur Smith's play calling this time around?
It was his best one all year.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
It was his best one all year. You didn't see the runs on first down all the time. You didn't just see the usage of the sidelines in terms of passing plays.
Oh, yeah.
You saw really a handful of a lot of different things. You saw a nice little usage of some zone runs, some with what they're using Jalen Warren in. You were seeing, I mean, heck, like you were seeing, it was aggressive. You were seeing your utilization at your tight end position finally. And that's gigantic. That's absolutely gigantic. It just seemed like an offense that was fully balanced, an offense that was unpredictable, an offense that was aggressive, and they just looked like a completely different team than the last 2 weeks, especially when they found themselves in a couple different red zone opportunities. And so that was a great, just really refreshing. And I don't think Arthur Smith's been as bad as as some people throw out there. I really don't. I think he has a plan every week. I think the Steelers offense does have a plan every week. They do look a lot more organized and structured. And with what they do, you don't really see much motion in this offense. You don't really see end arounds at all in this offense, which it seems like that's all it was the last 3 years. You see a lot of play action, obviously trying to run the football, your usage of both running backs. Cordarrelle Patterson getting opportunity as well. He's been a nice little piece for them when he's healthy. But really utilization, man, utilizing these players their strengths, man. You're utilizing a guy in Calvin Austin who's going to freaking burn you, which he did. You're utilizing Pat Freiermuth in terms of his pass catching abilities at tight end. You're not putting him in weak spots in terms of asking him to block or just little dump offs or anything like that. You're giving him opportunity to actually get some yards after the catch. You're seeing, really the dump offs to Najee Harris, man, was killing the Bengals. They were not doing anything on that. So the Steelers kept really exploiting the Bengals zone defense. They were continuing exploiting where it didn't really seem like the Bengals linebackers knew were really where they were supposed to be. And the Steelers were exploiting that with dump offs to Najee Harris and a little bit to Cordarrelle Patterson. So you really got to see a mix of everything, it seemed like, from this offense. And it was their best. It was his best play calling performance all game. It was nice to see the pass offense kind of be the one that kind of carries the load.
Yeah, I agreed. I agree 100%. I even thought his use of personnel was on point as well. There was a lot less of Connor Hayward out there in certain positions on the offense.
Yes, that's a good point too. 100%.
I thought that the Najee was out there more often. When we saw Cordarrelle Patterson out there after Najee went down, apparently after feeling the effects of Pat Freiermuth's Thanksgiving dinner. Which was weird to admit out there for that was the problem. I thought that the use of personnel was on point. That pass to Pat Fryermuth where he got into the end zone, that
Beautiful.
was that was another play that just reminded me of that
Awesome.
one. I mean,
Yeah.
just I don't remember outside of Ben, probably 2018 and early and
Yeah.
before then,
Yeah.
that wasn't
It was
happening.
awesome. No, that's not happening, dude. No, it was awesome. It was so the way that it opened up there. But it was beautiful. It was just beautifully done. Um, and that's what I mean. It's these things that we saw Sunday. Not only just because they scored 37 points on offense, but it just seems like that everybody was used to how they need to be used.
Yeah.
You're
You
not
know,
seeing an inconsistency. You're not seeing, oh, we're going to this guy and then we're going to go away from him the rest of the game. Like everybody was getting a piece of the pie. Even Van
right.
Jefferson at the very end. They were freaking aggressive, dude. They were freaking aggressive in trying to end that ball game. And that ball placement and where that ball needed to be for him, beautiful.
Yeah, the anticipation was great.
Absolutely just fantastic, man. The offensive line was fantastic. Wilson didn't really get touched very much. Um, I really thought that everybody on the line, honestly, and even Broderick Jones, for example, I thought Broderick Jones did a really nice job Sunday. Um, Mason McCormick had a fantastic game. So line was pretty much upright for most of the game, but it was just a really breath of fresh air of not just that the team got 40 points for the first time since 2018. Like that's great. That's great. But it
Mhm.
was a breath of fresh air in the sense of just seeing a potent offense, seeing an offense move, seeing an offense that is going to win you the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not
for
the
sure.
defense, not just running the football. You're seeing the offense winning you the game. You're seeing the aggressiveness on pushing the ball down the field, pushing the ball down the Bengals' throats, and not letting up off the gas.
I agree. I mean, in most games here, the Steelers get up 17 points in the fourth quarter the way they did. They're letting the foot off the gas. They're allowing the and they kind of did there for a second
They
defensively.
did. Yep, the
You know,
defense did. Yes, they did. And it
it's-
was like, why are we playing so soft? Why are we playing
yeah,
so soft and allowing all these yards to get up? Because the game wasn't over. There were still 4.5 minutes left.
yeah.
Anything can happen within that time. But in terms of like the offense throughout the game, the offense was on all cylinders, and they
Mhm.
were going to continue to shove it down Cincinnati's throat,
Yeah, to me it
and it was
was a
fantastic.
to me it was a case of the Pittsburgh Steelers trying to win that game and not trying to not lose.
Right.
And I thought that was a clear example. And I think that if the Pittsburgh Steelers would have started to get conservative in those moments, um, I think it could have, obviously could have ended in a different situation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, Justin Fields package only came out, I believe, twice. Went
Yes.
huge on the last play, ended up getting the first down. He went about
Mhm.
5 yards past the first down to make sure when he slid that it was the first down. And I thought I was a little bit concerned about it just because I was worried that it might mess up the flow with Russell Wilson, but
Yeah.
you got to give it up to the Bengals defense when you put the most obvious player and person that you're going to give the ball to. They're,
Yeah.
they're going to bite on the
Yeah.
other guy.
You
And
knew
so,
you knew it was going to be a run option.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think that I knew that when he came in, I was like, all right. The last time he came in, he handed it off. This time, he handed it off. This time he comes in, he's going to run it. I think everybody thinks that he's going to run it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals outthink themselves, saying, "Hey, everybody thinks he's going to run it. He's not going to run it," and they
Mhm.
all bid it on the
Yeah.
running back.
Yeah.
But
They all did.
that
Yeah.
to me, it was a
Yeah.
situation of
Yeah.
overthinking it.
And I don't care about the narrative people want to throw out, like Dan Orlovsky, for example, saying, "Oh, it's Cincinnati's defense." No, 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 no. Cincinnati has one of the best offense in the NFL. I could care less how bad their freaking defense is, dude. The Steelers' offense has not been like this in so freaking long. And by the
Mhm.
way, if they're going to be legit, they got to win that way.
Mhm.
They got to win like
Yeah,
that against a bad defense then. So there's nothing to look down on that performance about. And the Steelers have showed the reason why that they are a Super Bowl contending team is because they can win in all three assets of the game.
I agree.
And they've shown it. They've shown it offensively against the Commanders. They've shown it offensively against the Bengals and a high-scoring Bengals offense that they can outscore them. They've shown it defensively in a handful of defensive games this season, and they've shown it in special teams.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think that this is the first complete team that I've seen in a while.
And the Jets as well, because during that time, the Jets weren't a complete dumpster fire and still had a respectable defense at that time of the season.
And they're riding a high wave that they got Devontae Adams and all this other stuff.
Yep.
And so, yeah, no, this offense has been yeah. Offensive actually the mainstream media whoa, is that me or are you going crazy?
I think it was you that was lagging out. I think I was okay, I think.
All right, yeah, everything turned dark all of a sudden. I was like, whoa, what's going on? My screen turned black. I was like, okay.
Who knows? No, we're good over here. It might have been on your end. I don't know. Maybe it was on my end and it was affecting you. I don't know.
No, I think it was me because usually if it's just on yours, I would only see yours kind of jazzing up. Yeah, this time it was mine too. But anyways, what I was saying was, yeah, this has been the complete team. The most complete team I've seen in a long time. You know, offense, defense, special teams, probably since maybe 2017, right before Shazier got hurt. I think that was probably the most complete offense and defensive team, and that was the time where a lot of people were expecting the Pittsburgh Steelers to make a Super Bowl run. I think the same could be said here. I mean, if you look at some of the passes that Russell Wilson made, the ones that we talked about earlier, you know, if Patrick Mahomes makes that pass or Herbert or Burrow, that's like on ESPN. Everybody's breaking it down. Everybody's like, wow, look at this no look back shoulder pass through the middle, under pressure, sidearm, under, you know, all this other stuff. And, you know, I think that Russ, he's done it more than once in this season. That should be a, you know, one time. All right, maybe it's a fluke, but, you know, doing it multiple times, that's a pattern. That's more than a flash. And I'm excited. I'm excited about what this offense is going to do. We have a week of redemption coming up. You know, the Steelers will be taking on the Cleveland Browns, who lost again, but, you know, are coming off of, you know, their Super Bowl win against the Pittsburgh Steelers not too long ago. I think that,
right.
Did you see how they were acting like after the game?
It's sad, dude. It's honestly sad. And great. Cleveland has the Steelers number these last few years on their home field. That's great. That's fantastic. At the end of the day, dude, and I'll be honest, the Cleveland loss did sit with me for a couple days just because I was a little worried going to the Bengals game just because what their offense can do. And as bad as like the conditions got as the game went on, there was a lot of opportunity in that first half where they shot themselves in the foot. And I still think losing to a 2-win team at the time in the Browns, and especially division game, is still inexcusable to me. I don't care. You know, you can put any context in you want. I don't care. But with that being said, the Ravens lost to that same Browns team earlier in the season, and it is a division game on the road. And Cleveland is at least going to show up for those games. And Kevin Stefanski is coaching for his job for next season. So those are type of games that they're going to show up for. And that's the way it goes in the NFL, man. These teams that are good, solid teams, strong teams that drop a game or a couple games or so to a couple low-end teams, I mean, that's just the nature of it. It happens every season. So the fact that they bounce back the way they did Sunday makes everything okay.
Yeah. Well, when you watch Hard Knocks, you'll see why the Browns and the Bengals suck. You know, it has a lot to do with their organization, has a lot to do with
I've
their
read
coaching.
some things about it.
Like the comments, there was a guy that was busting a Will Ferrell from the Browns. You know, when that one, what was it, an old school where he's like, we got to keep our composure. And he starts yelling at everybody. There's a guy, you'll see it. You'll see like, oh, I know exactly this is the scene where Daniel's talking about where the guy's acting like Will Ferrell. And that's on the Browns. He's going off and like, to me, it looked like an act, but I think the star of the show in this season is going to be Mike Tomlin. You're going to love what they show from him and how he acts and talks, and he's just real, man. He's just himself, and I'll probably end up watching it again. I was very entertained by that show, but moving on to the Browns. I think that they're running off of a high that they beat the Steelers the last time. They've kind of, stank it up a little bit since. And, I think it's time that the Pittsburgh Steelers go out there and punch them in the mouth at home and take over this game. I think that the Steelers are going to have a game plan for Myles Garrett. Typically in the past, they just ran Dan Moore out there and weren't really, helping him out. I think that's probably going to change this time around. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Darnell Washington more on the left side of the field, just so that he can be that blindside tight end that's going to be able to do more than just a chip on Myles Garrett. I mean, that's what I would do if I was the Steelers. But I'm looking for a team, the Pittsburgh Steelers,
100%, man,
to come in very, very fired up for this game, looking for redemption.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think they kicked their ass.
I do too. What are some things going into this Browns game that has to happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers to win?
Well, I think that you can't let the big plays happen with Jameis Winston's arm.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot let that happen. You saw what happened in the Broncos game. The Broncos have one of the better defenses in the NFL. Jameis Winston goes into Denver, and Jerry Jeudy has over 200 yards.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston throws for over 400 yards. You can't let that happen. You can't let those big explosive plays happen. Okay. I'd say that you can't let those type of plays happen. I would say for the Steelers to win, you have to keep Russell Wilson upright, because that was not happening. That did not happen 2 weeks ago. It was awful. It was awful.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, pass protection needs to be on point, and really what we saw this past weekend. I would say that, and I think again, I would like to see, I would like to see the Steelers test some of this Browns secondary, because the Browns have a very good defensive line. The Steelers had a really hard time running the football, and maybe they can have a little more success this time around. But aside from the Jameis Winston big plays, that you do not let those happen, aside from the offensive line, there being a plan for Myles Garrett, and really the rest of the Browns defensive line, because it is good. I would the other thing I would include in there is adding on to your passing attack to what you saw on Sunday. You got to test this Browns secondary. You have to find, you're going to have to find some different ways offensively, because really the Steelers' game plan Sunday, and a lot of it was because of the weather as well, the ground and pound, and the Browns were all over it. The Browns were all over it. The Steelers' offensive line couldn't handle couldn't handle the pressure. They a lot of just poor execution this time around. Sure, you can try to get the run game going, but I think that they need to come out with a little bit of a different dynamic than what they did last time. Continue to add on to the success that you found in your past defense against this Browns defense. Now, this Browns defense is better. This Browns defense has been better than the Bengals, but I would like to see that. And then maybe that can start to shift you into starting to find a way to have more success running the football, rather than coming out and that's your first train of action offensively.
Yeah, I agree with all.
I would like to see them test this Browns secondary, man, because they did not get the chance to do that last time.
I agree. I think that I don't know. Is snow in the forecast for Sunday?
Not that I saw. We're supposed to get a tad bit tonight, I think, but it's only like an inch.
Got you.
So it's gonna be cold, and I wanted to go to this game, dude. But first of all, I'm not paying $450 for these tickets, man. They're astronomical. And Florida, I'm still, and with Christmas coming around, I've put money elsewhere. If I didn't go to Florida, I would have went to probably the Jets game on Sunday night when we played them. But Florida, and then kind of coming back from that trip, and then the holidays right around the corner. Really, the other thing is that I am not sitting out 20-degree weather. I've done it before. It's not fun for me.
Yeah.
So I'm probably just chalking it on a Steeler game this year, and that's okay. We'll be back next year, but this was kind of the game I was looking at coming, since I wasn't able to get to one during October. But the way that the weather is, man, I'm not sitting out there.
No, I hear you. Well, if we end up with a home playoff game, I might be able to get my hands on a few playoff tickets, being that I'm a season ticket holder. So
All right.
let me
Keep
know
an
if,
eye on it,
if
man.
that happens. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Keep an eye on it. Keep me in the loop on that, man.
Yes, sir. And it's at price too. So like it would be before they actually put them out there for other people to buy and then
Sweet.
resell them at a tremendous
Yeah,
amount.
yeah, and just you're looking on StubHub and all that crap.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
because I'm a
yeah.
ticket holder, I
Keep me updated on
get
it, man.
dibs
That would
first.
be hella dope, dude. But yeah, I would love to go this game Sunday just because I really feel like they're going to kick Cleveland's ass. But really, just from the prices and with the holidays and the weather right now, it's just it's I'm passing on it.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I
but it's
think,
okay. There's been seasons I didn't go to games. It's okay.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Me and my dad went to the Ravens one. That was a great
hmm
experience. That was the first time I ever been
Yeah,
to a
yeah,
Ravens Steelers game.
yeah. That
It
was a
was
great game to
amazing.
go to. Yeah, great
Yes,
game to
sir.
go to. Just great normal Steeler Ravens game. It was super funny seeing the Eagles and Ravens game. I don't know if you watched the whole thing, but man, those I don't know what's going on with Justin Tucker, dude. I don't know if his leg just doesn't have it, if he's just older, he's just washed, or he's just having one of those bad seasons. Like there was one where Chris Boswell had a pretty
Yeah.
bad season like 5 years ago, but that was about it. Like
Yeah,
he's
he had a
like,
growing injury too, though.
yeah, he did. So I don't know what's going on with that, but the fact that the Ravens lost the Eagles, and I felt like that was going to happen, obviously is great, but there's gonna be a time, dude, that he's gonna cost him a playoff game.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. Rather than I think Chris Boswell can win us one if it comes down to that.
Hmm. No, I
So
agree with you. I think Boz is taking the lead there as far as the best kicker in the NFL
100%.
right now.
100%.
You
I
know,
think
he is the
last year and
best.
this year, and not just that those were he's had a really good career. And you can look at his career numbers. He's right up there with some of the best kickers for sure. So he's had a great career, a great 9-10 years here.
Mhm.
But these last 2 years, I think, has started to shift him in like, okay, I think he might be one.
Yeah.
Rather, he was like, I think that a lot of people viewed him as like 2 through 5. You can just mix and match whoever you want to put through that. But I think that this is the one. I think that really what he's done this season and how efficient he's been, I think that's put him over the top.
I agree with him. I agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, for me, when it comes to this game against the Browns, you know, I echo everything you said. Keep Russell Wilson upright. You
Yeah.
know, you know, threaten the defense, the passing defense for the Browns. Maybe that'll loosen up some of the running game.
Yep. Yeah. Give them and show them what you weren't able to last time.
Exactly. And, you know, for me, just to kind of add on to that, you know, I don't know if Calvin Austin is going to play in this game or not.
Yeah, he's
We're
got
going
that
to
hip
need,
injury. I forgot about that.
yeah, he's in the concussion protocol. He was a limited participant in practice today. Now, this
Yeah.
is the second concussion that he's had this season. I'm not necessarily sure he's going to end up playing in this game. I think they're a little bit more cautious when multiple ones happen as far as how fast you get back on the field. But if he doesn't get back on the field or he's not ready for this game, we're going to need a big game from whoever's going to be taking over his spot as the returner on punt returns, and more so, you know, in the receiver position. I'm not necessarily certain who's going to be filling his spot. You know,
Right.
I know a lot of people want Mike Williams to fill in that slot. Skorosky, he played well. He played well against the.
He had a couple nice blocks, man.
He did. He's a big guy. He's a big guy. I didn't know how big he was until he stood like next to George Pickens and stuff.
Ben Skoranek.
Skoranek, there you go.
Yeah.
And I want to see Mike Williams play. I think he has probably the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I've been frustrated by that. Who knows the reason why that he's been hasn't really seen the field these last. I mean, how many games would that be? Washington was his first game, Baltimore, Cleveland, so 4 games. So it's been 4 games since he came here. The first couple games, I can get it if there's a limitation there, but the last 2 weeks at least, he should have seen a lot more of a dosage in targets, or just snaps in general. I mean, and he hasn't, and I've been a little frustrated with that. But who knows the reason why?
Well, Aaron Rodgers had brought it up that the reason why he wasn't getting on the field there was because he was having some issues, not necessarily word for word, but you know, you can gather what he's saying is that it appeared that he was having some issues with knowing the playbook. and being in the right spot at the right time. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe he is struggling with the playbook, even in Pittsburgh, and learning his role. And maybe that has something to do with it. I hope he can grasp it sooner than later, because I think
Yeah,
that his talents
yeah,
are.
100%. If he can give him something these last 5 games and into the playoffs, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Hopefully he can.
And I don't think he's going to be an expensive receiver in the offseason. The Steelers
He's
wanted
not.
to end up,
Yeah, he's not. If it'd be
restructuring him.
something that they want to look at is like, hey, this guy has tread on the tires. This guy's been around. He was with us. Keeping him there, you never know with injuries. But keeping him there is a guy as your, I don't know, whatever spot on the depth chart. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now that shouldn't be the only thing that they do there, but
No, I agree.
it would just kind of, I don't know. It might just depend really how he comes along the rest of the way.
Yeah. And defensively, what I want to see is more Peyton Wilson. I thought Landon Roberts kind of struggled a little bit against the Bengals. I think he was responsible, or one of those that were responsible for the long run by Chase Brown. He was definitely the guy that was supposed to hit him on the touchdown run that ensued right afterwards when they marked him down at the 1 yard line. He missed the tackle there, and so I'm not saying he's a bad player or anything like that, but I do think that Peyton Wilson his performance has been elevating and getting better and better and better, and I think he's really got that higher ceiling, giving his athleticism and his speed.
Mhm.
He had a touchdown this week. He had an interception, against the Ravens. I think he's gonna be a up and coming star for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I also want to see a comeback game for Patrick Queen. I felt that this game against Cincinnati wasn't his best one either. I don't think it was his worst game, but he had some moments there where he was chasing. There was some moments where he was, just not taking the right angle. And I think there was some unfair moments where we saw him on Jamar Chase. That's not going to work. I mean, even if you have Peyton Wilson out there and you're able to turn up his coverage all the way to the top on Madden, I think he's going to have struggle covering Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
So,
100%. Yeah, absolutely 100%, man. But yeah, with this Steelers Browns game, if we want to do a couple predictions on this, I think that this isn't going to be. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a game that's polar opposite. I don't think it's going to be a close game, Daniel. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm sure Winston will probably have a couple of his big plays, but if you cannot give him what we saw on Monday with Denver, just don't give him the amount of opportunity. But I think that this is going to be a game where we really just kind of see I'm not going to say a complete game, because I feel like that's just hard to come by. I'll be honest. Those are one of the terms I don't really like that much, because I feel like there's really never a complete game, because there's always going to be things to complain about. There's always going to be things that this didn't happen, that didn't happen, this player didn't do, that player didn't do. But I think there's going to be one of those games where it's polar opposite. Steelers are ready to play, coming off a fantastic win. They know that they kind of hold their own destiny with the division, and kind of really the rest of the way with like the Chiefs coming up and stuff. So with that being said, I think that this is a game that they do add on and continue on with this pass attack this week. I think they're going to try to give some different looks and some different things to Cleveland that they weren't able to do during bad weather and during that snowstorm. And I think Russell Wilson's going to carve them.
Yeah. No, I do too. What do you got for a score prediction there?
Yeah, there's the first time I've heard from all day. 9-4 record fantasy. Yep. See, I've given you your flowers, man, even through the injuries. Score prediction, Daniel. I think Myles Garrett's invisible this game. I think that they're going to come out with something that they didn't have last time. Steelers are home, coming off really great offensive showing. And like I said, I think that they're going to show and do things offensively that they weren't able to do in the snow. So I'm going to say that the Steelers again drop a 30 bomb. I'm going to say,
Nice.
yep. I'm going to say 30 to. I'm going to say the Steelers win. I'm going to say 30-16.
30-16.
Mhm.
Well, you're pretty close to what I was thinking. I was thinking 28-16. And
Okay, I
so,
mean, hey, yeah, that's pretty much on the money.
yeah,
And
we're
you were
pretty
thinking
close there.
16 too, so
Yeah, I was thinking 16. I don't see I see this game as being one that the Pittsburgh Steelers can and will take over early on, kind of squash the hopes of the Browns. They don't have nothing to play for anyways. So, when you have something like that, I think if you end up putting some points on the board right away, I know last time the Steelers were a little bit too aggressive, tried some weird stuff there in the beginning, and it didn't work out for the Steelers. Going for it on like fourth down a couple of different times, trying to kick a field goal at 58 yards away, and in the elements and things of that nature. I think if they play sound football, are able to put up some points, not have to deal with such terrible weather like they were dealing with last time, I think they can take over this game and have it in the bag by halftime, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe we'll see Justin Fields play a little bit in the fourth quarter.
Perhaps we
Yeah.
do. So, I'm thinking 28-16 Pittsburgh Steelers win.
He says 28-17, so he ups you just by 1 point there for the Browns. But yeah, man, I think this is gonna be a good game for them. This is gonna be a good win for them to kind of bounce back from that loss in Cleveland, and then just kind of kickstart really the rest of this way. Shaheed, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in. You think we'll beat Kansas City? I think they will. I think they'll beat them. I think most people haven't been impressed with the Chiefs. And the thing with the Chiefs, even though that that they were undefeated at one point, what were they, 10-0 or 9-0, right? I think they were 9-0 before they lost, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. They lost to Buffalo just a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, they lost to the Bills. Yes. And then they barely beat the Panthers and the Raiders. So, and it's not saying like the Chiefs are a good team, of course, and they're going to be for as long as they have their quarterback. But this has definitely been probably the least intriguing and the least dangerous Chiefs team that they've had since Mahomes became the starter, in my opinion. And even though, it's hard, it's still hard to win games in the NFL. So even though that they've only that they were 9-0, it's still great. But to me, that was kind of giving me like the Steelers 11-0 vibes, where it's like, yeah, like it's hard to win those in general and get to that point where you're 9, 10, 11-0. But then reality is going to start sinking in as the season starts to wear down and the grind starts to, pick up and everything like that. And I think that we're going to beat them on Christmas, man. It's a big game for the Steelers, and I think that they'll be able to expose some of Kansas City's weaknesses.
Yeah, Russ isn't a stranger to beating
No, he's
Patrick
not.
Mahomes.
No, he's
So
not. He's beating him. So Daniel kind of looks like Kevin Adams. Yeah, it looks.
Is that like Kevin Bacon's little brother or something?
No, Kevin Adams is a Steelers fan.
I know who he is. I know.
Oh, you know who he is.
Yeah.
It's probably like the beard. Honestly,
podcast,
Daniel
right?
looks more like Cam Hayward to me. I think Daniel
Wow.
gives a little bit of Cam Hayward vibes with the beard and a little bit of the look. So,
well, I'll be wearing a 97 jersey. Hopefully, I get some.
I think Daniel. Yeah, so I don't know. It's probably maybe just some of the beard on you, Daniel.
Yeah. I decided to grow it out just about 2 weeks to go into
the winter, man.
I think it was about 2 weeks right before Halloween. I was like, I dressed up as me and my wife and our baby. We dressed up as Wizard of the Oz. So I was a lion. So I needed a little bit of a mane, to pull it off. And so
a little bit of a mane, yeah.
Yeah. So I started growing it out, and then came November, and I was like, I won't shave it for November. And then now I'm just, we'll see how it looks in January.
Yeah.
So I'm just letting it go. It's gotten to the point where it's getting to where I kind of want to go to a barbershop and get it kind of at least
trimmed up a little bit.
Yeah, because it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But I might wait.
It's wintertime, man. It's wintertime. It's that time of year.
Yeah. There's only a couple of weeks of winter here in Texas, so I better take advantage of it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair.
Yes, sir. So, I think as well the Steelers will have a good opportunity to beat the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes down to December. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's going to do his stuff. So they're never out of a game. So when the Steelers play them, they need to keep their foot on the gas the entire game. It's a short week, and it's in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh the Steelers have a good record when it's on a short week. And so I'm looking forward to it.
He says if they lose, you got to shave it to the bone.
Nah, I'm good. Not that
Well,
I think that the Steelers won't lose, but I mean, I'll shave it with Zach if they win. What are we gonna do back? What are you gonna do?
I don't think
Why
he's
is it a
gonna do anything.
one-sided bet here? Well,
Yeah.
anyways, well, everybody, I appreciate everybody sticking
Yep.
tuned and staying with us. Nathan, do you have any final words before we let everybody go?
Yeah, you guys can follow me at In Hindsight. Daniel and I do our shows now on both our channels every week, especially with this final stretch coming down. Like I said earlier in the show, that we're going to aim to try to make sure that we at least do a show every week as the season's starting to hit the last stretch here. But other than that, it's good, man. It feels really good where the Steelers are at. It's been a long time, I think, that the fans have felt the way that they do, and it's been a long time where the Steelers have had and been in the conversation of being a real contender, and I think it's a great feeling.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think the Steelers are going to do some
Ready to
great
press.
things. I want to thank everybody that's tuned in. Hit that like, subscribe, follow Nathan. If you're watching this on State of the Steelers, his handle is in the title, so you can just click there and then follow him from there.
Yep.
If you're watching this on my show, State of the Steelers, please hit that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, do the whole thing. Appreciate everybody that's tuned in. We'll see you guys next time.